I gave myself permission to fix my part of what was going on in my own marriage, in my own life, in my own motherhood journey, with my friends, with my family, and they did their work. So it wasn't my job to make them okay with us being in a family that was in polygyny. Assalamu alaikum, peace. It's Fatimah, Coach Fatimah, 1/3 of Outstanding Personal Relationships and co-author of Let's Talk Polygyny Uncensored. Okay, in this video, I want to tackle another pressing topic, and that is polygyny, the aftermath. What to do after your husband begins to practice polygyny. Now, I usually say, when the dust settles, polygyny, after the dust settled, I did this, I did that, I did the third. There are a few things that I really had to dive head first into, and that was understanding things from a different perspective other than my own. And that was not easy because we know what it's like to be in our own body. We know what it's like to deal with our own pain and our own suffering and our own misunderstandings. We get that because we're here. But to go into the world of someone else and then kind of see their side is not the first go-to move typically. Now, can it happen? Yes. Should it happen? Absolutely. And that's one of the things that I wish I had observed more, is not letting the fear of the unknown stop me from being supportive. Now, that's my personality type. I like being supportive. I like supporting people. I like being a champion for people or campaigning for others. But I have to take care of myself first and then other people. And, when you love, your family, when you love your spouse, when you love your children, you want to be there for them because that's part of loving them, is being there. And that's what they're supposed to do for us as well. That doesn't always happen, and so many things fall out of our hands. And one of those things was, me just kind of wanting to be heard, but not wanting to hear everything. I was like, ignorance is bliss. We're going to let it stay that way. I'm good. And a friend of mine told me, she said, you know what, Fatima, if I were you, I kind of would want to know everything. So then you can kind of know how to deal with it, what questions to ask. So I was really standing in the way of my own healing by not hearing the story of others, meaning my husband, meaning my co-wife. Ultimately, it was her. Of course, I had to take care of what was going on in my own household first. Then I got to the relationship that I have with Coach Nyla. So, and that happened outside of Coach Nazir being present. It just had to. It had to be something that was organic. It had to be something that was sincere. It had to be something that happened in due time. I didn't rush that at all. And you all know, and some of you that are new might not know, it took me a long time because I was busy fixing my own trauma. I was busy trying to help the trauma of my children, trying to rebuild so many things that were fractured or broken in my own life, in my own marriage. A few things that I stopped doing was I stopped limiting beliefs. So I stopped, implementing these beliefs that, oh, this won't work, or I can't, or I'm not, or what am I going to do now? I started discovering that I had way more power than I'd given myself the credit for. So instead of saying, this is not going to work, I started saying, how is this going to work? And what are the action steps? What can I do? Because I couldn't do anything about what wasn't in my control, but I gave myself permission to heal. I gave myself permission to be okay. and do the work. I gave myself permission to talk to whoever I wanted to talk to, no matter what society said that I should or shouldn't do. I gave myself permission to fix my part of what was going on in my own marriage, in my own life, in my own motherhood journey, with my friends, with my family, and they did their work. So it wasn't my job to make them okay with us being in a family that was in polygyny. That wasn't my job. Because guess what? They were never going to agree with it, no matter how hard I tried, and they don't have to. I'm grown, they're grown, and they just were concerned about me being okay. If I was okay, they were okay. That didn't mean they liked it. That didn't mean they were supportive of it in any way, shape, or form. They just went, okay, you all right? We're all right. We'll start now, won't be none. It was just that, and many people that didn't like it were not people that were in my life anyway. So it didn't matter to me whether they did or not. It just didn't. That's just how I am. I became a forward thinker and not a solo thinker. I was such a solo thinker for so long. I was like, I'll just do what I need to do, and that's it. I won't think about anything else. And I wasn't future driven. I was driven by my past. I was driven by past pain, trauma, all this stuff. And I'm like, that's so not me, and it's so not attractive. Like it wasn't attractive to me to be that way, because that's not who I am. I'm much more, I don't know, I'm deeper than that. I'm deeper than that. And I just didn't want to celebrate the past because it hasn't served me. My past did not need me. I understood that my future did. It still does. And I got much work to do to step into who I want to become, because I'm not there yet, but I'm well on my way.
I am Coach Nazir.
And I'm Coach Fatimah, his wife.
And I am Coach Nyla. I am also his wife.
We are the founders of Outstanding Personal Relationships, as well as the authors of the book, Let's Talk Polygamy Uncensored. And I'm sure you're asking yourself, how can you get your hands on a copy of it right now? The great part is, we're about to share that with you, but first, let me tell you about why you need to at least get your hands on one or maybe more copies, depending on where you are in your polygynous journey.
Some of the things that we discuss in our book are issues about trust, insecurities, jealousy among wives, and maybe even, possibly even, creating lasting friendships.
Especially friendships amongst co-wives. And we share in this book how you can understand that it takes a village, that polygyny is not some taboo topic or something that's going to leave women stranded alone and kids not loving each other or feel like they're left alone by their fathers or from their fathers or whatever the case may be. You will learn so much in this book. Let's Talk Polygamy Uncensored.
Indeed, we lay down the practical steps that we wish we'd had when we started our polygynous journey over 13 years ago. Well, the time is here, and all you have to do, go to letstalkpolygamy.com. Order a copy, order the bundle, do whatever it is you need to do so there's no more excuses, and we making marriage great again by reminding people of polygamy, which is an ancient solution to a modern day problem. Let's talk polygamy.com. Get your pre-sale order on. With that being said,
make sure you are growing intentionally,
loving fearlessly,
and connecting on a higher level
every single day.
Visit the link. Assalamu alaikum. Peace.
Peace.
But part of being on my way is giving myself permission. I celebrated a ton of wins instead of looking at those losses. And I said, you know what, these aren't losses. These are lessons. These aren't L's in that regard. They're not losses. I changed that L into a lesson, because if I kept counting myself out, I would never, gain any ground. I would never cover the ground that I needed to cover to become the woman that I wanted to be. I still had goals. So I said, I'm not going to let anything stop me from achieving those goals. I'm not going to defeat myself, because that's what I was really, really doing. I was defeating me every day. I mean, it's just like, they call it being punch drunk. It's well, in the Midwest, that's what they call it. I don't know what they call it all over the world, but I was beating myself up for really no reason. So the aftermath of polygyny was much to do with my personal growth and development. And I said, if I'm around and surrounded with people who are doing their best and investing in themselves and their work and their relationship with Allah, if they were doing those things, then we didn't have anywhere to go but up. But I had to really get my head in the game of life and go, look, what are you gonna do? You're gonna let polygyny defeat you? And it didn't come to defeat me. But in my mind, it was just like I felt defeated. And I just didn't want to do that anymore. And I said, I'm in control of how I feel all the time. All the time. It's kind of like somebody sitting there and just taunting you until you just go off. And then you find out the person that's taunting you is you. And I said, I'm gonna quit taunting myself. And I'm gonna be a forward thinker. And I'm gonna decide to get out of my own way, do my work, and get going. And a friend of mine years ago, I have many really powerful women in my life. And I don't get to see them all the time. I don't get to talk to them all the time, but I get to talk to them enough every week. So that feels good. She said to me, I know you don't feel like yourself now. She said, but when that old Fatimah shows up, watch out. And I was like, oh, Fatimah. And I'm like, yeah, no, this ain't me. And I remember because I was walking up and down the alley where I lived, and I was on the phone with her, and she lived in another city, in the same state, but in another city. And she's older than me by about 20 years. And she said that, and I said, if the old Fatimah needs to show up, she must have been something else. She must have been a powerful young woman. Because if that's the impression I left on her, if she could give me those words of encouragement, it was one of those take it as you want, and I did. So the aftermath of polygyny didn't mean I was defeated. It just meant I had more work to do. It just meant I had more tests to pass. So that's how I took it. I took that thing and I was like, look, I'm gonna get to this point. And then upon the encouragement of friends and family and loved ones, I said, I think this is your calling to help others and coach. And I'm like, not my calling. I'll have people confused. And I might have confused some, but it wasn't my intention. Sometimes I'll start talking and I'll go off from one thing to another thing. But when they said that to me, I said, I gotta help other people. And it's very fulfilling work. It feels good to tell somebody you can do this. Now, if the climate isn't right, if the person isn't the man for the job, I get it. Some things have to run its course and they ultimately do end. I know that. But in my case, personally, for me, everyone that's in my family, our husband, he's doing his work. So I had to do mine, and mine didn't happen the same time as his didn't happen the same time as mine. It wasn't a competition. It's about betterment. It's about seeing the bigger picture. It's about really taking care of you and then others, and then finding some understanding and being a great listener. That's another thing that I discovered that I needed to do is say less and listen more, because that's where the answers lie that I needed, and I got them. So that felt very freeing, very liberating. So the aftermath was really getting out of my own way, giving myself permission to heal, move forward, be a future thinker, not a solo thinker, not a past thinker. Couldn't unring the bell, can't reinvent the wheel, and just taking back control of my life. I had to take back control of my life, and that feels good. And anybody else can do that too. With the proper mindset, you can. It's doable, it's achievable. It's not always easy, but you have good and bad days. We're not happy all the time. We're not celebrating things all the time. We're not like that. We're people. And you got to allow yourself to make mistakes, forgive yourself and forgive others. So yes, That's my aftermath of being in polygyny. So with that, guys, if you're not following us on our social media, why not? So follow us on Outstanding Relationships on IG and Outstanding Personal Relationships on Facebook and YouTube. I'm going to leave you with a little GLC. Remember, I'm Coach Fatimah, for those of you that are new. Gonna leave you with a little GLC. Make sure you're growing intentionally, loving fearlessly, and connecting on a higher level every single day. I'll see you guys in the next one. Assalamu alaikum. Peace.